Have you ever noticed how the loudest guy in a room is usually the one who's trying the hardest to matter? Meanwhile, the man sitting quietly in the corner, calm, composed, unbothered, somehow commands the most respect. That, my friend, is Stoicism in action. The man with nothing to prove is the man who has already won. Not on the battlefield, not in the boardroom, but within himself. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick with us till the end. Every click helps our journey grow. And hey, don't make us prove that to you too. Number 1. Why less is truly more. True power isn't in how much you say, it's in how much you don't need to say. Stoicism teaches us that peace comes when we detach from the need for external validation. A man with nothing to prove doesn't mean he's achieved nothing. It means he no longer lets his worth be defined by anyone else's scoreboard. In a world where people post every achievement, every meal, and every deep thought on social media, the one who holds back becomes mysteriously magnetic. People lean in. They wonder, why isn't he trying to impress anyone? It's because he doesn't need to. That's power. Quiet, invisible, and untouchable. Marcus Aurelius didn't walk into the Roman Senate yelling, "Do you know who I am?" He walked in already knowing who he was. That internal certainty silences the ego, and ironically, makes the world listen louder. So if you're the kind of guy who doesn't correct people when they underestimate you, congratulations. You've already graduated from a school of Stoic confidence. Number 2, power and restraint. The man with nothing to prove rarely argues. Why? Because he knows that energy is better spent on action, not endless explanations. He lets others throw tantrums while he walks away and handles business. That's not weakness. That's maturity with muscle. When you've built your identity on rock, not applause, people's opinions start to sound like background noise, kind of like a toddler arguing with Socrates. You smile, you nod, and you move forward. That's restraint, and it terrifies people who depend on attention for survival. Here's where the humor comes in. The moment you stop trying to prove something, people get suspicious. Wait, why isn't he defending himself? Because he doesn't need to. It's like bringing a bazooka to a pillow fight. Unnecessary, but also wildly impressive. So the next time someone tries to drag you into petty drama, ask yourself, is this worth my breath? Or should I be too busy building the kind of life that makes explanations unnecessary? Number 3, the masculine calm. There's a reason why the calmest men are often the most respected. They're not emotionless robots. They're simply unmoved by the chaos around them. Like a tree in a storm, they may sway, but they don't break. That's not because they have no feelings. It's because they've mastered them. This kind of stillness isn't passive. It's powerful. In relationships, leadership, or even conflict, the one who stays grounded controls the rhythm. When others get reactive, the calm man remains centered, and in doing so, he becomes the gravitational force in the room. We've all seen it. 2 guys arguing like it's WWE Raw, and then a third guy walks in, silent, composed, and suddenly the energy shifts. It's like everyone subconsciously knows, this is the guy who gets things done. Humor check. If calm were a superpower, most people would be out here throwing emotional tantrums like it's an Olympic sport. But you meditate, drink your tea, and let the storm pass. That's alpha energy without yelling about it. Number 4, trying to prove yourself is a losing game. The need to prove yourself is actually a hidden insecurity. It screams, I need you to validate me because I haven't done it myself. Stoicism slaps that mindset in the face and says, no thanks. I'm good. Trying to prove your worth is like chasing a moving target. Today it's success, tomorrow it's popularity, next week it's status. But the quiet man detaches from that treadmill. He finds joy in being, not performing. That's rare. That's freedom. Here's a funny thought. When you constantly try to prove something, you're basically yelling, please clap, like an insecure politician. But when you don't care who claps, you become the man everyone watches anyway. Let go of the ego's demand to be seen. The moment you stop chasing the spotlight, you become the spotlight. And ironically, that's when people start asking, who is this guy? Number 5, the path to inner peace and legacy. Living like you have nothing to prove doesn't mean being lazy or passive. It means you're motivated by internal values, not external pressure. You act from purpose, not performance. That's Stoicism in motion. You still work hard. You still grow. But you're not doing it to be liked. You're doing it to be aligned with your own principles. That's the difference. And it's why people with this mindset end up building legacies, not just resumes. When a man walks with quiet confidence, he becomes a lighthouse for others, calm, steady, and immovable. He doesn't chase approval, he attracts respect. And even in silence, he speaks volumes. So ask yourself today, what would change if you stopped trying to prove you're enough and simply lived like you already are? Number 6, the power of walking away. Most people think walking away is weakness. It's not. It's one of the strongest moves a man can make. It shows restraint, discipline, and clarity. Stoicism teaches us that not every battle is worth fighting, especially those driven by ego and pride. A man with nothing to prove knows his peace is too expensive to trade for momentary satisfaction. Walking away doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care more about your self-respect than external validation. In arguments, failed relationships, or toxic workplaces, the man who leaves without drama sends the loudest message. It's a quiet, "I'm done," and that calm exit speaks volumes. Think about it. The more desperate someone is to win the argument, the less in control they are. But the man who calmly says, "All right," and walks off, he owns the situation. People are left stunned, confused, maybe even a little shaken. That's Stoic control in action. It unnerves chaos by refusing to participate in it. And here's your humor nugget. Walking away is like ghosting, but with dignity. No scene, messages, no angry tweets. Just a peaceful exit, like Batman leaving mid-conversation. No smoke bomb required. Number 7. Emotional mastery is the ultimate flex. We live in a time where men are often either emotionally repressed or emotionally explosive. But a man with nothing to prove doesn't swing between extremes. He's centered. Stoicism is about awareness without reaction. It teaches you to feel deeply but act deliberately. People will test you. They'll push your buttons. Some just want a reaction because your silence makes them uncomfortable. But the man with emotional mastery doesn't flinch. His energy is still like a calm lake. And when others try to create waves, he just watches them drown in their own noise. Ever noticed how the calmest guy in the group chat is the one everyone ends up asking for advice? That's no accident. Stillness creates trust. Reactions create suspicion. Emotional chaos might get attention, but emotional stability earns respect. And let's be honest, flipping out every time something goes wrong is exhausting. A man with nothing to prove keeps his cool not because he's numb, but because he knows life's too short to be emotionally bankrupt by noon. Number 8, success without noise, letting results speak. A man with nothing to prove doesn't broadcast every little win. He knows that success is best served quietly, without hashtags, humble brags, or LinkedIn novels. His achievements speak without him having to shout, and that's what makes people really listen. When you're secure in your value, you don't need to market your worth constantly. Your life, your choices, your discipline, they tell the story better than any monologue could. That's Stoic leadership. Silent, steady, consistent. In fact, the louder someone is about their grind set, the more they're usually trying to convince themselves. Meanwhile, the quiet achiever keeps stacking bricks while others are tweeting about laying foundations. Who wins in the end? The one who built a castle while everyone else was busy fishing for likes. Want the humor angle? If quiet success had a catchphrase, it would be, "We're not the same, bro. I just don't need to announce it." And that's not arrogance. That's efficiency. Number 9, detachment from outcome. One of the most freeing things you can do is stop obsessing over how things should turn out. A man with nothing to prove plays the game without being attached to the outcome. He does what's right because it's right, not because it guarantees applause, money, or recognition. That kind of detachment doesn't mean he doesn't care. It means he understands that results are influenced by many factors beyond his control. What he can control is his effort, his mindset, and his integrity. The rest? He lets go. This creates a calm, focused energy that's attractive and rare. While others are panicking over likes, followers, and quarterly goals, he's out there doing his thing. Unbothered, steady, long-term. It's the difference between planting roots and chasing butterflies. And yes, here's the humor kicker. Most people treat success like a vending machine. Press the right buttons and expect instant snacks. But the man with nothing to prove is planting oak trees. You won't see results overnight, but one day he's sitting under shade while others are still pressing buttons for chips. Number 10, living for what actually matters. At some point, every man has to ask, am I living to be remembered or just to be noticed? The man with nothing to prove chooses legacy. Not the kind that trends for a week, but the kind that lasts for generations. He knows that reputation built on trends will fade. But character, values, and daily choices, that's the stuff legacies are made of. Stoicism reminds us that fame is fleeting, but virtue is eternal. You don't have to be known by millions. You just need to be known deeply by the right few. And when your actions are rooted in principles, not applause, you start living in a way that outlives you. Quietly, powerfully, unshakably. That's the true mark of the man who has nothing to prove. He's already defined by what he builds, not by what he broadcasts. And let's be real, most people will be remembered for their TikToks. You're building a life that your grandkids will study, not just scroll past. That's the kind of quiet power that roars louder than fame ever could. If this message hit home, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Remember, true power is quiet, unshakable, and never in a rush to explain itself. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to be. See you in the next one.